Greetings, Darklings, from across the interwebs. It is I, Precious Ken, the Duchess, once again back for the Sounds and Shadows podcast. And I have with me the talented and wonderful...
It is I, Katy.
As always, we have an awesome guest that we were supposed to do this interview a while back, and timing didn't work out, and it didn't happen for the first album for them, Danny Blu, but now they have a new remix album that is out, and so we will get to talk about both. So Kismet, this worked out beautifully. Hello, Danny.
Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'm glad that we got to work this out. It has been, we've been trying to schedule this since like August, September. There's been a lot.
It was way back when the first album came out. So yeah. Well, let's not dwell on the past. We are here now, and we are so glad to have you, sparkling and lovely, over in New York. Correct?
Yes. Yeah. Washington. I'm in Upper New York, so I can look behind me and see George Washington Bridge. That gives people context.
Beautiful. Why don't we start out? Tell me just a little bit about how you started this project, got into music, and give a little bit of history for our listeners to know who you are and what you're about.
Sure, it's kind of a long story because this isn't right. This is by no means like my first musical venture. So right. I was at NYU in 2000. I started there September 2009. I was taking a year off, and then partway through that, started realizing that I just didn't like being told what to do all the time. So I started I wanted to create my own world and whatever that would be, and be my own director. So that turned into writing the first album that I put out in 2010, 11. It was a long time ago. It was called Do Your Worst. I still have the poster on my wall. And it meant a lot to me then. It's just like a very different game now. So we
sure.
Well, I'll get to the part of the story where that stuff comes down. But put that out, played a couple of shows, put a second album out on my own, and then went on my first tour in 2014 around half the country or so, the eastern half of the country. So we got back from that. The band I had hired to be my backup band, we all were just writing music together, and it felt wrong to keep it under my name at that point. So that became Echo Black, and Echo Black has been around since 2015, and still continues. And we were able to do a bunch of cross-country tours. We opened for the Birthday Massacre, Combi Christ, Scold, Genital Torture, some bigger names in the the goth community, and it was a blast. And then around the Genital Torturers tour, so in October of 2018, I was talking with my my then fiance, now husband, about starting getting back to the original project as it was, because it's when you're writing as a band, you're encompassing 4 different viewpoints together. Yeah. And not that I wasn't being heard, but I was only able to contribute 25, around 25% to the full thing. And I really thought that there was a place for something that was 100% me. What does that sound like? And that's I hadn't been able to explore that since around 2013 or so, where that second album came out. It's been a while. So our filling guitarist for that tour, Walter, had actually produced Echo Black's album. So he produced the album, he was filling in on the tour, and then we started discussing about what it would sound like if Danny Blu did a solo project now. And then we started writing that winter. So we're talking winter 2018. The album didn't come out until September of 2020, which is wild to think about. It took 2 years to pull together. And it's just because we started everything from scratch. There was no preconceived notion of what the album or what the project was going to be. It was just, do we like this kick drum? No. Do we like this kick drum? No. This kick drum? Yeah, it sounds pretty good. How about this snare? Yeah, it sounds good. And just literally for each song,
writing and building
from the ground up. And just to make sure that it was wildly authentic. And I think that is a large part of why people resonate with it, because I think it's super honest, and it was very specific. Yeah, that's that's the whole story of how we got to this project.
I agree wholeheartedly when I hear it, because I would call the music that you're doing, not as much industrial. I don't know. I hate doing genres and labels anyway, but more of kind of a dark pop and I think but when it's done really, really well like this and it has soul, I think that's the key, is like the difference that, take like a Madonna or something like that.
Sure.
When you have pop music that has marrow and blood and truth in it, it's a totally different thing than what you think of as just, I flip this on because I'm going to dance around the kitchen to it,
Exactly, yeah.
And I feel like that's what, when I heard this album at first, the music had so much, is it was a very raw sensuality, a very but some also powerful dark themes about self-exploration and kind of self-discovery in it. And that's how I likes my pop music. I want to be able to still dance around the kitchen, but while do it say, Ken, look inside, and who are you, and why are you here? And I feel like that's what this record really, I connected with it on. So I love that you say that, and I think that it takes away. So you got ready, and then you put this out as a solo record, and with
just on our own. We didn't
just self-released. Okay.
We spoke. We've been speaking to Negative Gain on and off. They're super nice guys.
I love that. I just know that you work with a lot of their artists and stuff, and now for some reason, my head.
So like the remix, the remix guys. They sent me a Facebook message. They were like, "You're working with all of our artists. Who are you?" We just like got to talking. They're very sweet. So we started putting out. We put out Bubble first, and then we put out Burn right after that. Earlier on, that was we got a Bubble while I was still on tour with Echo Black with Scold last in 2019. And the whole thing was just a series of singles. It was supposed to be a series of singles. We hadn't even really decided to make it an EP yet. That's how like side project this thing was. It was just here's this single, and the video for that was very much like a welcome to my world kind of video. It was like just supposed to like who are you now after these 10 years have passed. And then we put out this thing for Burn. And then we put out Sanctuary. I'm losing my mind. Sanctuary is after that. Right. Sanctuary.
You have your fact checker back behind you?
I do, yeah. Just making sure. And then White Knight. And then by the time White Knight had come out, I think we decided to package it together as an EP and to sell it because it was getting a lot of attention that we weren't expecting. We thought to bring it back to like this whole like genre, dark pop, industrial thing. We weren't sure who it was going to resonate with because it is not, like you said, it's not super like industrial, right? When you think about industrial, you think, who do you think? Well, I mean, like we could run the gamut, but if you 9 Inch Nails, Skinny Pop, like that kind of harder stuff is in the inspiration. It's not really in the final product. It's much more pop focused. And my manager actually has a saying that that good pop artists get to confess in their music. Yeah. And that's kind of what this whole thing was like a bunch of confessions, which is really cool. So by the time we got White Knight out, I think we realized that it was going to be packaged as I love White Knight. Thank you.
That's a jam.
And the video was my favorite film. It was so much fun. So by then we decided to put it out, and then we actually wrote Paradise City it was like written, recorded, mixed, mastered, produced in like less than 2 months. For like the deadline of the thing to come out. Yeah. Which is because we decided that this is the deadline now. So we just like finished that last song, and it wound up being the one that is like doing the best as of now.
It is a great single. It really is. I like that. And I think too, going along with kind of, like you said, coming from an industrial background and going into this, industrial, when you talk about your Skinny Puppy or your Combi, all of the like kind of harder edge aspects of that, it is kind of like a ultra masculine, like kind of music. And I love the sass and razzmatazz that you put forward. There's an aspect more of glam and like you said, a sensitivity to the music that just isn't a part of that genre as much and could be. And I think that's beautiful. And one of the things I really like about it is I like both those things, both, industrial beats and, metallic sounds, but I also like when an artist can kind of rip their chest open and bare their soul on it. And I think that's a great power that was accomplished here.
Thank you. Yeah, it's and industrial music gets a bad rap for a couple of reasons, but mostly because of like the lyrical content generally doesn't resonate with like as large amount of people as it could.
Sure.
But that's just my opinion. Look, anyone can tell me whatever. But I think that because there is a lot of, I think industrial music likes to use a lot of imagery that is very hard and tactile and violent sometimes or whatever, to get things across, and doesn't as much go into relationships, personal feelings, and if those things are tackled, they're kind of done as a metaphor, right? So like, we use like bombs and things like that, and from my experience of what the industrial world is now, and now it's, the interesting thing is that it's all changing. So now we have this dark pop and like dark wave and like industrial, and pop is like over here somewhere, and they're all kind of blurring, all the edges are blurring together. So you have these weird artists doing Aesthetic Perfection. Daniel Graves has been saying industrial pop for years. Kanga is another one, industrial pop artist, things like that. Hartley in Paris, I think, has like great pop flavored industrial stuff. So there are a lot, and there's many more. This is ones that came to mind, but there are people who are really blurring those lines. And that's the school I want to be a part of. Like that camp is where I feel like I fit in.
I think another one, kind of the ones you talk, is like Jim Marcus and either Die Warsaw / Go Fight is a great example of, I think he really blends the harder aspects of it and kind of the growl in the voice and but then on top of that, also kind of like you talked about the sensitivity and soul that goes along with it. He's another great example of that. So you had this new album come out, and it started to resonate with people and have power there. And tell me a little bit about, all of a sudden then comes crashing down COVID and things grind to a halt. And that hit us all hard in a lot of different ways. Tell me about where you went from there to kind of being in New York, where it was a pretty scary thing in particular there. And how you found a way to kind of keep doing art and deal day to day when you couldn't go out on the road.
100%. So, I mean, COVID affected everybody, obviously. There's no way around it. It affected every industry. Mine in particular. So at the time I was working as a bartender and I was going on the road, and like literally both things crashed down at the exact same time because you could not do either publicly, legally, or safely. So I lost my job, obviously, when it was on, thankfully it was on unemployment this whole time, which is lovely. But as far as creativity, there was no way to do so, especially in the beginning, because the live streaming thing wasn't really a thing. The technology wasn't there. No one had built the servers to like make those things happen for the everyday. People who got really good at Twitch, I think, got it early and figured it out. I'm not a technologically savvy person. I know what I know about what I know, and that's like my limits. But in terms of creating during COVID, I think we'd had most of the songs to a really good place, which was lucky. So we had to do some finishing touches on a couple. Walter, who's my producer, wasn't going in the studio at all. If he was just mixing stuff that had been already recorded. So that came to a halt for him as well. And New York was crazy in particular because it was such a hot zone for a while. They shut everything down. Like to leave the house, we walked the dog. That's like all we did. And like went to the grocery store. There was nothing else to do. Luckily we have a place where I was able to like work on the house and keep myself busy. But in terms of creative stuff, it like grinded to a halt. And then you don't want to be creative because you're depressed and everything you're seeing on the news is death, destruction, despair. This is going to be the next 10 years of our life. We don't know if this is ever going to go away. Will we ever have to have like in the beginning, will we ever have a concert again? Things like this were like super
I remember,
dark. Yeah, it was wild. I think our governor in the beginning did a really good job. There's some things coming out now that are not awesome, but I think he did a good job getting us on a pretty good path. And now our president is doing a much better job, and we're getting to a good place. But in terms of the beginning of it, it was dark. I would say definitely like mentally dark. Physically, I couldn't do all the things that I was used to doing in terms of keeping my body in shape to therefore keep my mind in shape. There's a lot of depression around this house. And then we're getting to a place where we're like, we can't just be stagnant here. We have to do something. So that's when we started working on that last song, that became Paradise City. Just to get that done and to at least put a cap on this EP process that we started and we thought were just going to end. So we got that out. We shot a very safe and distance video for Love Me Bad, right in August? Mid-September. And because we also, during COVID, not to bring the mood down, right? My dad passed away right in August, like of 2020, like near the end of August, which is also one of the reasons why we postponed this interview, oddly enough.
I'm sorry to hear about that, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. A weird transition for the family, and much weirder given by the fact that we couldn't hug and see each other and do all the things that we want to do, which is wild. So the EP wound up coming out a week, like literally 6 days after he passed away. And we had this whole family discussion about it, like whether or not it was right, and ultimately decided that he, first of all, was like one of the reasons that it even happened. He helped me fund some of it just to make it happen. So we felt it would be wrong, and he would be super mad if I didn't put it out the way that it was supposed to put out. So that was what we decided on, and it came out, and people were very supportive. Everyone was very, very sweet. So that's like kind of closed out 2020 a bit, and the rest of it was just, and we'd been working on the remix stuff before. So I guess that's what kind of was birthed out of COVID, is because we couldn't tour. We couldn't do the thing that would like align yourselves as a new artist, like align yourself with a genre or align yourself with an artist to kind of tell people who you are and what you're like and what your vibe is, what your shows are like. So we were using this remix stuff as kind of like digital touring. So if my first remix released was Mr. Kitty. So I would love to go on tour with Mr. Kitty. And I think that would be a great pairing. What a cool show that would be.
Yeah.
The next one was Kanga. What a great pairing that would be, like what a cool live show, me and Kanga. And that was how we kind of did it. And then we just kept doing it until it started to fill itself out and made sense. And then we got like some really cool ones like Brendel and stuff like that were really awesome to.
Black Nail Cabaret, one of my favorites.
That one is a banger. I love them. They're so cool.
I've always, I don't know, to me very early on, the Eurythmics were something that was very impactful and hit me. And whenever I think of her voice, I always think of kind of the power of the Eurythmics, and that's kind of where she takes me. So yeah,
100%. Yeah, I say that all the time. I think that band. Her voice is so cool. I think she's such a cool person. That's my husband going to get the dog that's barking in your ear.
So you brought up something a second ago that I think is really important, is you do a lot in terms of shooting these videos, which I think makes a lot of sense, because when you think of, I don't know, the idea of dark pop, that has to connect. I mean, pop music always has had a strong connection between video production and music. Tell me a little bit about how important that aspect is to you, and how much involvement and control you have over the video process in terms of going along with the songs you write.
Awesome. So I'm super visually based. I think that to be a musician is to also be a visual artist. I think to have success in music, even if you're not someone who shows their face a lot, there's something visually that's happening that is connecting the viewer, the listener to you in a visual way. Or else, I mean, people have done it with Mystique in the past. Like, we have no idea these people are, but even that is like a visual aspect. You know what I'm saying? So in pop music especially, that's how you get to deepen, in my opinion, you get to deepen the song. Yeah. So I don't think there's a reason to do a video unless it's going to add something to, or add another layer to, or peel a layer away from the song itself. Sure. Which is why we don't do a video for every song. Also, they're kind of expensive. But I think there's ones that you should, and ones that if you don't think it's going to do anything, then there's no point, because that's not, if that art is meant for something else. Yeah. So in terms of the videos that we put out for this, I would say super involved. My involvement. It's a really small team. It's me. I have a manager and a producer. And then when we work on a video, it's a director and generally like a production designer that kind of helps us put everything together. So for Bubble, it was a really, really small team. And that was we had this crew, which wound up falling through 3 days before they were gonna fly from LA. We like canceled the whole thing and like wound up hiring another crew that had done a video for Echo Black in the past and came in and like turned out this like awesome video. We bought a lot from Amazon and returned a lot to Amazon, and it just like made a lot of things work. Yeah, don't tell Jeff. Because he doesn't have enough money.
Jeff knows everything.
I think he's listening to us right now. So for that one was a little easier because it was kind of a more simple plot. The Bubble video was just like a performance, and then it was like a simple thing, finding this body, resurrecting it. It was like a 3-location thing, pretty simple. It's one day. White Night was intense. And I actually have to thank the director, Baby Yours, for that, because that was more his baby than other videos I've done. He kind of came. We had discussed the concept of the song and what it was, and the song itself is kind of discussing using substances in order to be a social person. So like to combat anxiety by using the wrong things to be able to connect with people. In like a one-on-one kind of way, which I struggle with like heavily. And we deepened that into society's addiction, therefore, to like pornography and substance and social media. And that's where that video went. So it took the song from one place and made it even, in my opinion, even bigger. So that was like a larger cast. We had a production team that worked for at least 2 weeks sourcing stuff and building pianos, and I still have like a built piano in my basement, and this crazy stuff. But that video to me is like absolutely beautiful. And again, we bought a treadmill and returned it to Amazon. And for Love Me Bad, a lot of that two people I had to thank are my manager, Victor, who put all that stuff together, and then our good friend, who is Kiss, or Sick Kiss, Sick Designs, SSIK. She is a fashion designer in New York. We've been friends with her for years. Club Kid, Suzanne Barsh, like core team.
Very cool.
Kind of deal. Yeah, she's one of the best people I know, with one of the best asses I've ever seen in my life. And she was able
that's a compliment.
And she was able to help us put together those like 5 scenes. So we gave her a lot of free reign. It was like, here's the plot, here's what we want to, that song is about my sexual experiences with straight boys. So we wanted to deepen that by saying, let's put someone in a situation that they think they're not going to like, that way they wind up liking. And that was like the vague way that we did it. And we did that by making like high fashion saw traps. And the person who is investigating them winds up being like the victim of the last one and is like super into it. So we were like, we want these 5 things. Can you make this happen with this color palette? She went to Pennsylvania and built this like massive PVC structure with her dad, who was so cool, and brought it back.
I think of high fashion structure, I think Pennsylvania. But
there's no other place. Well, her dad has a farm, and she was able to build like this large thing in order to like make this stuff happen, which is
that's
like,
awesome.
Very, very cool. So she brought all this stuff in. We had all these mannequins. It was a huge and very safe crew. I was like so impressed. There's a crew called MoTV in Brooklyn who helped us make the whole thing happen. They have a big scene list and made the whole thing, and they were just really accommodating, and everything that we asked for, they were able to make happen, which is like difficult to find when you're working on smaller budgets, indie budgets. Right. It's difficult to put out that kind of level of art that I crave to put out and like will only put out. So it's like never going to be less than that. So it's good when all that team kind of coalesces together to make something extra special, because then you feel like there's like love from all sides and nothing gets missed.
That's awesome. All right, I'm going to do one last light one, and then I'm going to let Katy in because I've been hogging you. You know, I was excited. You have a lot of really cool ink going on in New York. To our viewers, give a shout out to someone. What is the cool New York shop to get ink done?
Okay, there are 2, and they're like not directly across the street from each other, but they're on the same street.
That would be cool though, in like a Jets Sharks kind of way. That would be,
or like dueling Starbucks. Yeah. But there's on Orchard Street on the Lower East Side, Grit and Glory, female-owned, almost completely female staff, I believe. Cool. I think every artist there is a female, and they're so good. Janice Danger, who was up here by me in Washington Heights, wound up moving down there. I have a couple pieces from her, and now she's down there. That's like Megan Massacre is there. Like we're like very, very good quality, sweet, good people. The other one that's right across the street-ish is called No Idols Tattoo, and my girl Heather there is like bomb. So if anybody's in or near New York, those are the people I would recommend.
Awesome. You know, that's a question I should ask more and just forgot to, because I always, people come in and have their, and that's always cool when you're going someplace else. But all right, Katy.
Like all word of art. I'm sorry, word of mouth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, kind of tailing on that last question, which of your tattoos has the best story, and would you be willing to share it?
Ooh, has the best story.
That's a good one.
That's a really good one. Well, I have to think. What do I have? I mean, I have, because only a few I can show you here. I have the Lorax tattoo here, the truffle tree.
Very nice.
And that was my favorite book growing up, which is a very cute story. I have a To Thine Own Self Be True, like this whole thing here, which is like been my motto since I got it when I was like 19 or so.
I've kind of got one of those on my arm. It's a snake with an apple in its mouth in Hebrew letters that says God is within you.
That's awesome.
Kind of the same concept.
That's very cool. So what I'm working on right now is, so I had this piece on my hand, this
that's really dope.
Which I love.
The microphone.
Yeah, I literally hold it. Yeah, it's my right hand.
That's awesome.
So I had this microphone, but I was like, it's not done. Something else is going on. And it had this bone like stem to it.
Yeah.
So in order to keep that going, now the stem it's like a snake. It's a snake skin peel. It's in the process. We're working on it right now. But it's like snake skin peeling back, and it goes through my whole arm, and you can see the lines. It's going to continue all the way up and be to here.
Bandolier too.
Look at this whole thing. Yeah. I mean, so that is for fighting for what you believe in. Like bullets on.
That's awesome.
Yeah. The mandala is like sacred geometry. Ladybug. When I was growing up I had my bed was by the windows, and every day there were like tons of ladybugs. So I don't know what that sign was, but I'll take it. Yeah. And I have the city of New York, and so this is a story. So I don't have. Oh,
that's so cool.
Thank you. Because when I moved here, they were already gone. So that was unfortunately not my experience of New York.
Sure.
But this is my New York. Yeah.
So we heard a dog, right?
Yeah.
Is that your only pet? What's your dog's name? Are they around? Could you?
She might be around. I don't know. Is Hannah around?
Sorry, when people come on Sounds and Shadows, they have to talk about
I get
pets.
This is I get it.
This is
So we have a cat and two dogs. My cat over there is Dita. She's sleeping in her cardboard. We all know. Just everything is cardboard. Dita's sleeping in her cardboard. I've had her for 8 years. She's a black and white tuxedo, and she won't let me hold her right now. He's getting the corgi right now.
It's a corgi. I want to see corgi butt.
Hello. Here she comes. Yeah, she's flying in. There she is.
Oh.
Hello. She's so sweet.
Oh, what a little chonker.
Oh, she's such a little muffin. Yeah.
Oh.
She's so sweet. She's the sweetest thing. And she'll go back to her bone. Yeah, she was a very good girl. Thank you, Hannah. And then we have an all black cat named Luna.
Aww.
That's our household, and we're thinking about a puppy.
Ooh.
I don't know. Thinking about it. Thinking about getting rid of a little brother. Yeah, I know, but we're home.
That's true.
And we have a backyard, which is
that's nice.
Clutch in New York. Yeah.
So here's my last question until I can go back to Ken. So you're not like from New York originally, like you moved to New York to go to school. Mm-hmm. So as someone who's always been a creative person, how has life evolved into this point where you're finally like really like coming to your own picture perfect self,
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Because I thought of the answer I just like dawned on myself as you were asking it, which is very cool. So I appreciate this therapy session that we're having.
Yeah, there's a connection there. That's good.
I think growing up in a place that is not a city, or a place that is not a city. So
Sure.
like a smaller place, suburb, less urban than that, even small town. There's not as much diversity, and whenever there is something different, that's like the only thing that's different. Like I grew up in New Jersey, like 45 minutes that way, so it's not. I wasn't so far away, and actually, there's like one point in my town where you could like drive to the top of this hill and you could see the horizon, the skyline.
Cool.
So not super far away, but if there is like one queer bar, it's like that's the queer bar in town, right? There's like one community theater, and that's the community theater in town. And people have it way smaller than the way I grew up, which was like a pretty regular sized suburb. So it's interesting that you asked that question, because I think leading up into and even into my early mid 20s, I always thought of my two worlds as two separate things. There was Dan Gershaw, my name, and there was Danny Blu, the performer, character, nightlife persona. And even in my Facebook to this day, it's my name, like my regular name is my Facebook profile, and then the fan page is Danny Blu. And it's in the past few years, like 25 and on, 26 and on, maybe or so. This is probably has to do with my 7-year relationship I've had with my husband over here. But it's those two things now merge. I've realized that they're not two separate things, that they both exist all the time.
That's awesome.
So like when I said I was working on the house, like I put some trim in the living room during quarantine. And like I always thought like that's Dan Gershaw putting trim in. But no, that's just like Danny Blu making this pretty art on the floor, like just like any other thing is. And like when I sing on stage, I'm not this character that has two dimensions. It is very much the little boy that sang in the basement. That's the same thing. So that is like a cool episode. So thank you. That's a really good, cool evolution of like self discovery, I think, that you go on if you don't grow in a place that is like supportive of all of those things.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up in a place that wasn't supportive, but you know what I mean? There's not access to all of those things.
Yeah. Like with your recent album, I felt a lot of tones that dealt with things like mental health and really relevant things to right now, like love and relationships. And with your most recent song being finished up in the quarantine, you can really resonate with a lot of the tones of the album very personally. Like, if there was one takeaway that you really wanted to emphasize from this EP, what would you want your fans to know about you?
So the EP is set up to be, we released 4 singles, and the 4 singles were the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse. And then the EP has me with the shadow of the horned character, that is my shadow. Was meant to be this apocalypse. An apocalypse only in term only, meaning like the end of the way the world is now. And then if you listen to the album, the original EP through, it begins with a song called Enthusiast, which is the Charlie Chaplin quote from The Great Dictator. Kind of like a call to arms of like what to do now. And it ends with the love song on the album. And I think the biggest takeaway is that the answer to all of this has always been like love, empathy, and personal connection. And it's the only way that we can move forward as a society, is to appreciate that everyone else is exactly the same as just as fucked up and just as depressed in whatever different way, and whatever way they show it or hide it or don't, that we're all the same, through and through.
That's awesome. I'm glad you brought up too, talking about the album cover. I mean, both, like on the because it's a variation, but I remember being really struck when I first got sent over this album and started listening to it. That cover it's a very powerful image, and kind of like, I don't know, throws back to almost like the Lucifer comic. Kind of reminded me of I don't know if you do comics at all, but yeah, it definitely has that same kind of contrast and sharpness, and a duality to it. Can you tell me a little bit about who did this art, like the artist, or whether it was you or on the picture for it, and how it really spoke to you as this is the encapsulation of my truth on this album?
Yeah, 100%. So we went to LA to work with Sequoia Emmanuel on a lot of the photography. She is, I don't know, just so incredibly wonderful and one of the most talented people I've met. She sat me down for like the first look. Like I got out of makeup, sat in front of her seamless paper, and she took a picture, and it like she has it tethered to a TV screen that we can both see. And the first photograph, like all three of us were like, oh, so we're done. Like, it was like the most insane thing I've ever experienced. It was crazy. So we did all 4 of those covers that day, and then we finished it off with the EP cover image. And I had this idea in my mind of like, if we're doing the 4 horsemen, and then I am the bringer of the Armageddon of whatever this is, I have to be that, but I'm not that. Like I don't see myself that way. Sure. But there's something that's in there, just like everyone else. There's something inside that we are usually as creative people, we're trying to express something that we can't express in any other way. Yeah. And that was the point here. So like that essence lives inside of me all the time, and there's not always a really easy way to let that out. And that was the whole thing. So I wanted to have this shadow that was like bestial that was like showing up behind me. So we took the photo, and it was just me in a leather jacket, and you see the shadow behind me. That's all you see in the original photo. I wish I could bring it up for you. It's buried somewhere. And then we sent that to a friend of mine whose name is Taylor, and she drums for Scars Heal in Time. And they toured with Echo Black a little while back, and they're so cool. It's 2 sisters, and I think Tyler is in the band now, and he's their guitarist. So it's a sister drummer and guitar singer, and they're really cool. It's like really good. I mean, radio rock sounds like an insult, but it's like good radio rock music. It's really good. So she is also a graphic designer. She took that and she added the wings and the horns and stuff to that. And then it was still green, and then we brought it back. And my husband is also a graphic designer, so we decided on what red it would be, and like what Pantone red that would be, and what and how it would look next to all the other covers, because all the other covers are kind of blue, like blue, red, purple, and this was supposed to be like the red thing to it. And I think contrast is beautiful. Like my whole look is contrast. Like everything, my skin is super pale white, and my tattoos are really black, and like my eyebrows are black, and my skin is like. So I think contrast is always a part of my life, and that's kind of where it all was born from. Yeah, no, it was very much a group effort.
Yeah, I think that's great. And to me, that's what was so striking about the image is it kind of has you in this anti-hero light, but at the same time, the shadow coming off it is both a part of you, like actually touch and connect, but also kind of lurking behind you, and almost like that part of you is what's attacking yourself. And you're kind of the hero in the story against that, but like I don't know, that just the first time I saw that image, like it was really striking in that way, so I wanted to make sure to ask about that.
Oh, that hero anti-hero thing is very cool. It's interesting.
You started in talking to, usually where we go next one, we're a music review page, and we love to discover and talk about new music. So you gave one shout out to a band there. Tell me, 2 more things that you're listening to that gets you excited right now.
Oh man, I listen to there's an artist called So Below. I wish I could tell you more about them. I don't know like where they're from or
tell me why you like the song.
The music is so visceral. Everything that they sing, I connect with, like every single lyric and every single tone, every vibe. And I actually listen to them a lot. So we're in the process of writing another album right now. And I listen to her a lot to get into the vibe, to write a couple of the songs that we're working on. I just think that she has a really, really cool, So Below, SO space BELOW.
I will look that up and I will link it on the interview. Very cool.
There's one, and I mentioned Heartlay before. I'm very into Heartlay right now. And I don't know if they're going by Porn or Pure Obsession of Red Nights.
Yeah, I know the
anymore. Band. Okay, that band. Really, really cool.
Very cool.
And they did a similar thing with remixes.
Yeah.
Like to really set themselves into a place right now, and that's also very cool. I think who else I'm listening. The Haunt is another band I'm listening to.
Yeah.
And they are killing it.
They are. They're doing really
right now. Really, really cool things.
Is that what's happening on Spotify? I haven't checked in a long time.
Oh, you're not a Spotify fan?
Right. I do love the Haunts and love their sound.
Yeah, they're really cool.
I'm kind of a Bandcamp purist. We have a Spotify, but I haven't looked at it in 6 months or something. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Bandcamp. I'll tell you what, Bandcamp. I slept on Bandcamp for a long time, and I think Bandcamp is one of the best resources for up and coming bands and artists.
For sure. I mean, it is a way to cut out the middleman for a good portion and let people actually give money to artists and support them. And there just aren't a lot of platforms that have any intrigue in doing that. So
it's also easy to use, which is like
it is
a difficult. Yeah, it's like that's a really big deal.
I think a lot of people kind of, because you can't do the playlist thing on much. But to me, I want to hear the whole album kind of guy. So for me, it works good. I hit play, I start doing the dishes or whatever, and then I can hear that whole album and take that whole journey instead of just one single. So
yeah, for sure. Different, so different, just different sides of the industry. Excuse me, people who do, there are different acts who do better doing singles like over and over again, and there are some acts that just want to do full storytelling albums. I'm somewhere in between those two. So I think that
both are great.
A song can live on its own and live inside a story. Awesome.
So I think that we're kind of coming towards the end of the interview now. I just wanted to ask, like, is there any advice that you would want to give people who are just starting to get their foot in the door in this industry?
Sure. It is very tempting and very easy to buy fake stuff on the internet, all over the place.
Yeah.
Literally from Spotify followers, streams, all the way to like YouTube comments. You can buy anything.
That's scary.
It's terrifying. And the more, and even from me talking about it right now, I'm going to get 35 ads asking me if I want a playlist. And I think that's the biggest pitfall of the internet age, is that you can get stuck into these things where then you've bought these fake things and they've come from a fake place or whatever. And maybe your Spotify profile looks really great. Maybe your Bandcamp looks awesome. Like maybe it looks like it's supported by a lot of people. Your YouTube channel looks awesome. But eventually, the only reason these things continue to work, all these platforms work on algorithms that take data from what you have and then show it to more people, which is kind of the beauty of the streaming. The beauty of these internet things is that you can discover things just by listening to other people. If you've bought a bunch of fake stuff from a place that's not real, the data is wrong, and therefore nothing will ever be shown to the people that are meant to hear it. Right. So you're actually sabotaging yourself trying to look better. And I think that's like the biggest takeaway in terms of like music business technology thing. Because I have a lot of friends, fellow musicians who did it a while back, because it was new and it was like, oh great, my stream, I can buy Streamify and it looks awesome. But then it like totally screws you on the back end. It takes a long time to get out of it. The other piece of advice I was given by my producer, and it was to write, to never write for the audience you think you want, because that has nothing to do with it. Like the audience that you think you want to have, the words that you think they want to hear, has like zero place in the artistic creation world. Yeah.
I love that. That's great. So my last question that I have is, I want to set a date for 2022 when we come back. You're going to have your new album out by then and completed working at it. Tell me a little bit about what you're going to be excited to talk to me about the next time we talk.
Oh man, how many disco balls?
But this is self-actualization. Just paint the picture and tell me where Danny Blu is going to be in terms of this next album and why you're going to be excited about it.
Well, we've just returned. It's so nice to see you. We've just returned from our Russian tour. And
Nice, Russia. Okay, very cool.
Oh my God, Russia is like our
they're killing it right
like
now.
The U.S. and Russia are like our two biggest things. I love all the Russian fans. They're so sweet. So we 2022. So if it's in early 22, we're planning our first tour right now, and we'll talk to you about where the dates are. There's a couple singles that have already been out, and we've announced the album date. And I will be telling you about how many disco balls I've set on fire by now, as a tease.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited for that interview. That's going to be great. So we usually spin out at the end here to one of the songs off the new album. So I would like you to choose one of the remixes that you would like us to head out to, that people can hear, to get them excited to click that Bandcamp link and get this new album.
I'll leave it up to you between two. I'll leave either the Walter Casimir Paradise City or the Black Note Cabaret version.
Black Note Cabaret.
Okay, let's do it.
I do love the other one, but I don't know. I love that.
Yeah, when we talked to them about it, they sent us the remix, and I forget which member we were talking to, but they were like, it's a pretty standard Black Note Cabaret remix. It's just like an EBM thing. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I listened to it. I was like, this is so good.
It is true that everything they do is incredible on standard.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, for sure. And outdoes everything else. Yeah.
I am so glad that we got to talk today, and it was lovely having you. I'm very excited for the future for you, and for us to talk again next year about all the wonderful things that are going to happen.
Can't wait.
From us here at Sounds and Shadows, everybody fucking keep it dark, yo.
I'll rise from your ashes, a bird